Hold on for a second. What's up, YouTube family? I would like you guys to make sure you like and subscribe to our video. It would help us get into the algorithms so we could be seen and bring more engaging content to you guys. So, like I said, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Appreciate you. Don's podcast. I'm your host, per usual, Sean Tyson here with Zoo and P. Bush. How you fellas doing?
I'm doing well, man. I'm in Sean's home state of California, South Carolina. Sorry, we were talking about the USC distinction, Sean. I know you always call it that, and we were driving by the medical University of South Carolina down there in Charleston. My sister was kind of looking, but man, beautiful state. As you can see, a little burned here, man. The index is way higher. But surprisingly, it is hotter in Chicago this whole week than it is in South Carolina, which kind of threw me in a loop. But yeah, man, got to enjoy the couple of the finals games, man. Zoo, you and I were texting, man. One competitive game all series, man, and that ain't what Adam Silver wants. Even though we've very much praised the NBA, and obviously this isn't something that they can control, but the fact that there is a changing of the guard and a bit more opportunity for teams. But the Celtics team, man, they were just the clear cut UConn of the NBA this year, Zoo, and they just whooped them. And I guess kind of looking briefly, I'm not that surprised. I was a little nervous there, Zoo, with my Jaylen Brown bet, man, but paid off in the end. Absolutely beautiful.
Man, oh man, totally agree, man. Like I love the NBA Finals, but this is just it just wasn't that of a competitive series. That's all I gotta say.
Yep.
I thought it was gonna be a lot more competitive series, even though I thought the Celtics were the better team. Luka's obviously the best player in the series. It's classic best player versus best team, and best team won pretty handedly. Like pretty handedly. There was one blowout for the Mavs and a lot of blowouts for the Celtics. So it was an ass whooping at an elite level by the Celtics.
Yeah. 0 for 3 on the pod. It's just tough. I think we got kind of carried away with Luka dominance in the Western Conference Finals, and I will still stand on the fact that the Boston did have an easy path. Because I mean, all the best players got injured. But if you go back and look at the regular season, they dominated the entire season. So if you ask a Celtics fan, they're gonna be like, "You guys should have expected this." So going off of that, I wanted to get the guys' opinions on what they thought with the finals overall, from the Dallas or Celtics perspective. And P-Bush, you can start this off for us.
Well, I think we can agree that Porzingis, what we thought was going to end up being the X factor in the entire series, didn't really need to do much except give them the boost that maybe they needed in confidence play in game one when he just came out and scorched earth in the first half of that first game. But, man, a couple things I got to shout out. Drew Holiday, his liveliness and his energy all series was absolutely crucial. Some of his offensive rebounding, crashing. He had some timely shots, just simple cuts. A lot of people like to harp on Tatum's distribution. I think that distribution is only as easy as your teammates make it for you. And let's be honest, and the defense that you're opposing, right? And I think we talked about this last week. The Olay defense of this Mavericks perimeter, man, was just absolutely atrocious all series. Luka Doncic, man, there were a couple times, man, in this last game. I know that they were down a lot, but there were some offensive rebounds that were cramming off to the side, and it would just go right over Luka's head, and he wasn't even trying. I get you're demoralized, I get you're frustrated, but sometimes the lackadaisical temperament that he has, man, it just really irks me to watch because there's a lot of guys on this team that were trying very hard and maybe just couldn't live up to the bright lights of the finals, like the PJ Washingtons, Derrick Jones Jr.'s of the league. But look, man, this is a Luka player, obviously, that he's got a bright future, but I think they need to just do a better job of building around him and really bringing in talent that complements him rather than just throwing a solid star with him and kind of surrounding him with a bunch of what some people might call no names. They've earned their names in this playoffs, in my opinion, but they're not guys, right? We talked about them needing a third guy, and it really shone through throughout this series. So that was kind of a big one. And the other thing was Jaylen Brown's defense on Luka. He, in my opinion, he pulled kind of a better version of what Iguodala did to LeBron in that 2015 series, man. Because Luka was always going to get his. He still averaged, I think,
28,
29 points. But Manzu, he shot 24% from three, a sub 45% from the field. That's all you can ask for when you're playing against the top. Pick this wisely, Zoo. I'm gonna say a top 3 player in the NBA, maybe top 2 at this point. And you know what? It was a team effort. He was guarded by 5 to 6 guys on any given night, but Jaylen Brown really took his job, I think, the most seriously against Luka Doncic, as did Drew Holiday with Kyrie Irving, who also had a very rough series, shooting 41%, and just horribly from 3-pointers. And then I guess my last point real quick is we knew, and I think we mentioned this pre-series, the volatility of 3-point shooting for both of these teams was going to be the deciding factor, and the Celtics just shot it a little bit more consistently, even though they weren't at their normal level throughout the regular season and early playoffs. So, man, it was David and Goliath, with David having a little bit more souped up muscle with Luka Doncic, but it wasn't enough, man. That David and Goliath story turned out a little different in this series.
Yeah, I gotta say, Luka Doncic, first of all, he had a nice series. But I needed an exception. I needed an all-time series. I remember, exactly. Pretty much, I remember saying before the series, this is a little wishful thinking, but I remember saying this. I needed a Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic to pull a LeBron and Kyrie Irving against the Warriors for them to win the series.
Yes, sir.
They needed that. If they didn't do that, they were going to win the series. Yep. It wasn't going to win. There was a reason why the Boston Celtics were the heavy favorites to win the series. I remember you could get the Mavs before the series plus 190, plus 200. So pretty much the Boston Celtics, even before the season and at the start of the playoffs, it was Vegas consensus favorite of getting it done. Obviously, the path, as Sean said, very, very easy. But then they got to the big game and they made the Western Conference champs look like a bunch of chumps. They weren't in I would say in the same tier, because I say offensively, this Boston Celtics team didn't even play that well. Yep. You got Jason Tatum, who obviously has struggled in the NBA Finals previously.
38%?
Yeah, 38. I'll round them up. 39% from the field, but 26% from 3 on 7.6 attempts a game. So that is awful.
Yikes.
That is high volume, and you're bricking a lot of threes. A lot of his favorite little step back lazy three that I say. Just a lazy shot, man. It's a shot you can get off any possession. You're a little tired. Shot clock's going down. Don't want to make a play. Take the step back three. It's an easy bailout shot. But 39% from the field when you're at high volume scoring or 20 shot attempts a game. But he found ways to do other things. That's the thing. That's why I like Tatum obviously did not have the best series, but he became the primary playmaker. He was crashing the glass at an elite level for a wing guy. This guy was getting almost 8 rebounds a game. So he found ways to
defense. He was getting blown up.
Yeah, defensive-wise, he was trying, but he wasn't doing much on defense. Jaylen Brown was really the elite wing perimeter defender. And I think that is the reason why Jaylen Brown got the Finals MVP as a little more tiebreaker. Just if you look at stats, Jason Tatum led the team in points, rebounds, assists. That's the only other guys have done that are Nikola Jokic, LeBron James, Larry Bird, Hakeem Olajuwon. Those are the guys that he was in. So that is up there with these special players. But Tatum just did just enough for his team to get it done, and he didn't really need to do much.
No,
this is the reason why I'm okay. I remember people talking about Jason Tatum MVP. I'm no, let's take a chill pill, man. They got a great team around him, and this is what they've shown. They are a great team because they don't heavily rely on one guy of making every play, score every bucket, create every possession for this roster. This starting lineup, Brad Stevens, looking like the MVP of this Boston Celtics franchise, because I still remember that Drew Holiday trade when they got rid of Rob Williams, injured Rob Williams, who's out every single year, injured Malcolm Brogdon, a little pick action. You got Drew Holiday, who this guy has been proven. This
shipped
guy
off Marcus
exactly.
too.
Yeah, that's for the Porzingis trade. But first,
no, but still,
just you got Drew Holiday for two Band-Aids and a pick. That's they got an elite guy that's won a championship and is probably the second or third best player on that Milwaukee Bucks championship roster, and that point guard that they were missing after shipping out Marcus Smart for Porzingis. Mm-hmm. So they shipped out their point guard, Marcus Smart, who was declining heavily, and he was injured all year too because he's getting older. Yep. You bring in a guy like Porzingis, who's been underutilized, I would say a little underrated, because when you go to the Washington Wizards, your team you're just irrelevant. You're absolutely irrelevant. It takes a guy like Brad Stevens, like, I see you there down drowning in the Washington Wizards franchise. I'm going to bring you to the that clearly starting from the bottom. Now we're at the top. You go from the Boston Celtics franchise. Yeah. That's consensus conference finals every year, to the Washington Wizards, which is consensus fighting for the number 1 pick every year right now. So that is just a change of scenery. That was a tremendous move. And if you look at this roster, they're a better roster. They're a better roster. Luka Doncic played well, but he had to be special, and he wasn't special. He had a good series, for a first NBA Finals series relative to other players that we've seen in the past. The guy averaged 29 points, 9 rebounds, 6 assists. The one thing he really, really did struggle was from 3-point land. As I say, he loves taking the step back threes too. 24% from 3. He shot 59% from the free throw line, which I was bugging at. I love Luka offensively.
That's unacceptable.
His weakness is his free throw shooting, very similar to a LeBron James. Yeah, very, very it's just, and they're really bad. When you see those misses, they're really off misses. I don't know why he can't hit free throws, because he's a good shooter, but he can't hit free throws. And he also averaged close to 5 turnovers a game. And a lot of that's, he has some careless turnovers, but a lot of it's forced from elite perimeter defense, because they have 5 guys to get D up on this team. He shot 47 from the field, so that's all right. So I can't even hate him on that. But the free throw shooting, unacceptable. 3-point shooting, unacceptable. So Luka Doncic was good, but he wasn't special. But you know who I'm so disappointed in? Kyrie Irving.
Yes, sir.
Uncle Drew. This guy's most talented player ever. Man, stop it in the playoffs, man. He is so limited by his size. When you have these elite, bigger defenders on him, he has historically struggled. Obviously, I still remember against the Golden State Warriors, he was cooking. He was cooking Steph Curry, who's a smaller point guard with them. But Drew Holiday is a 6'4" and built strong.
You pretty much summed up everything with Boston. I don't, the one thing I will say, I kind of want to go back on about Tatum and his personality. I think what makes Tatum a great player is, I know everybody wants him to have the alpha, but I do think it takes really a man and a really good teammate to check your ego at the door and make it work for the team. I don't think we always talk about how players need to become the alpha and figure out how to go deep down inside of yourself and find that dog in you. But I also think it takes a bigger man and a better player to recognize Jalen's killing right now. He's having bigger moments. Let me step back. And to your point, Zoo, about him being a bigger player, he can rebound, he can assist, he can play, he can do other things and score a couple of buckets. That takes a lot of selflessness. And I appreciate that from Tatum, because I don't think a lot of stars can do that. I don't think a lot of stars can do that. A lot of stars are going to be I don't care what the hell this other guy's doing. I'm going to get my shots up. And if it messes up the team, it just messes up the team. So I got to give Tatum kudos on that. And like I said, Jaylen Brown, he's been doing what he's needed. He's been doing what he needed to do after he got the big contract, and I appreciate that. So,
let me say this real quick, Sean. I just wanted to pose this to you guys, because I think maybe just because Kyrie was so absent throughout the series, not consistently. He did have a couple of games.
Not consistent, too.
But I kind of got a little flashback of what, it was the David and Goliath when AI had to go up against the Kobe and Shaq Lakers. Right. Mm-hmm. And he stole a game. And I know it wasn't, it was 3-0. And
yeah, 3-0. Yeah.
But it was still a 4-1 series. And then AI never got back to the finals ever again.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let's take it easy now.
Is that something
with Kyrie, or are you talking about with Luka?
No, listen. Luka's play style and domination of the ball. Can he win? Is someone able to actually compliment him and take weight? Because Kyrie,
I'm not mad.
We argued that Kyrie was a perfect fit. You argued that, Zoo. You argued that Kyrie was the perfect star to pair up with him, and it doesn't work because they both play iso ball.
No, listen, wait. No, stop it. Stop it right there. It does work. They just gotta perform. Kyrie Irving did not perform. I need him to average 25 a game.
No, but they're not performing, Zoo. But the whole point is, any good defense can attack a team that just plays iso ball. That's easy.
They beat the Minnesota Timberwolves, and that was I would say a good defensive.
Well, I think we agreed though. Minnesota, they're a great defensive team, but I think we all agreed, and maybe I just agree, but like I think we maybe overinflated how good their not their team defense, but their perimeter guys in terms of McDaniels and who's the other guy, Nickeil Alexander-Walker. Like we kind of maybe overinflated them individually as like we kind of saw in the finals. They're not Brown and Derek White or Drew Holiday. Like they're different. Like those guys, I mean, I don't know if those other two guys from Minnesota made all defensive teams consecutively, but I know those other guys that we just named did. For sure. So it's kind of like I think the caliber of defender is what we're looking at. But to P. Bush's point, which is going to be something I'm going to go into about Kyrie, because you pretty much just like started the my answer of what I was about to say. Like Kyrie, to Zeus' point, he is correct. If you show up and you play like how you did in Game 3, then this maybe is still going on the 2-2 series, 3-2 series, whatever, and it may go 7 if they're just playing out of their mind. Now that is asking a lot because what LeBron and Kyrie did is that's just kind of that was just a motion, just downhill momentum that is just, I don't think we'll ever kind of see that again. That was just something that was out, like they were just in out of body performances for Game 5, 6, and 7.
That's a lot to ask.
But that's a lot to ask, and especially that Game 5, like on the road, that's just unbelievable. But to your point about Kyrie, like on one hand, you can't be disappointed because he didn't show up, but we've already had this conversation about Luka in terms of him being an iso ball type of player. And while I will agree it is a little too young in his career to make that as a prominent claim.
Correct.
I'm going to more put the focus on Luka just as a player and a teammate. He's starting to come off like a brat.
A little bit.
And I was very disappointed in how he acted. And part of the reason why I was like, because I didn't see it in the time when Brian Windhorst had his soliloquy and just went off on Luka, right? And I saw it the next morning.
And that was a great breakdown.
Great. And the first thing I thought of when I saw that rant was, somebody on the Mavs is giving him that card to do that. Because you just don't go on national TV after a game and you're talking about one of the star players of the league, because I don't want to get into like the minutia and the details of how like stars are protected in this league and they're giving memos to not talk about certain players. Like we all know that happens, but I don't want to get into that. But the fact that he was confident enough to go on TV and talk about Luka like that, and people were kind of echoing it, means he got that information from the franchise. There's no way that he got that from Boston. There's no way there was a guy on the street that gave him that info and let him do it. Like, no, somebody that's behind the scenes, that's seeing how Luka acts behind the scenes, gave him to give like the go away to be like, hey, I want you to mention this on TV, or you can mention this if you want to on TV. And the reason why I feel confirmed in that is that maybe less than 24 hours, he's in a sit down with Malika Andrews talking about like, this and this, trying to like do damage.
Taking accountability.
You're taking accountability now. But we've seen this behavior from Luka since he's been in the league. He whines too much to the refs. He complains, not to his teammates a lot, but he complains when it's kind of like the older LeBron. Like LeBron's old and it's like he can't play his well defense, but you'll see him sometimes blame another teammate for a defensive assignment. It's like, no, you was out of position. Luka will do that. Like he'll do like the roll his eyes and kind of like shake his head, like, what are you doing? You're not in position, when it's kind of like obviously clear that you can't guard yourself. You're getting blown by the entire time.
Yep.
And to me, to Peebush's point, to talking about how his style of play may be the reason why he may not get back to the finals, I think it's going to be his attitude.
He'll be back, but I don't think he'll ever win.
Win. I think part of the reason why he won't win is because of his attitude. We can all agree he's not the best of shape. He can be in better shape.
Yes.
He can be in better shape. People want to, like, his game. I'm not sitting here saying he's a freaking above the rim athlete. Nobody, like, he's not that. But he can be in better shape. He, not saying he don't choose to, but he just seems to me to be a guy who can maybe shed a couple pounds. And who am I to be saying that? Because I'm sitting on my couch watching him. But I'm just saying, if you look at it, if anybody's just watching him, you see how he moves. He looks like a guy who could be a little bit like swifter, faster. Also, when you're out of shape, that kind of contributes to injuries and later in the year. People always talk about why LeBron never gets injured. Well, why he never gets injured is because he keeps himself in top tier shape to last throughout the season. And this is why he's still playing. Now, a lot of that, some of that is genetics, but a lot of that is self-preservation. And to me, it keeps going, and people don't want to hear it, but it keeps going back. Like, what is the biggest difference between him and Harden? What makes Harden such a bad teammate and not Luka?
Let's stop it.
Let me finish my point. Everybody kills Harden because, he was saying stuff about Daryl Morey or, he quit on teammates. Well, what the hell was Luka doing when he, quote unquote, quit getting that 6th foul when you know that was a dumb play, thinking the refs were going to bail you out? You knew that was a blocking foul. And then your response to that is that you yell at the bench to effing challenge that. That ain't leadership. That's a bad teammate.
Yeah.
And Brian Windhorst, that's why he came on live and was on ESPN and eviscerated him, because everybody with 2 eyes can see that. Luka has gotten a pass because he's so good. Just like Harden is so good. Harden doesn't play defense. Luka doesn't play defense. Harden can pass. Luka can pass. They're both elite scorers. The only difference is Luka's made it to the finals this year. But before that, what was the difference between him and Harden? If you're just looking at it from a broad point of view, they're both bad teammates, because you do not do that. You do not foul yourself out when you know that was the wrong play to do. He has enough basketball IQ to know he should not have put himself in that position. You know what he was? He was selfish. He was like, they will never call a 6th foul on me. He was thinking about himself, and they called it on his ass. And guess what? His response to that is, I'm just going to yell at the bench. That ain't leadership, dog. And to me and Peebles' points is different, but to me, my point is Luka will never win if you can't change your attitude.
That's true.
You'll never win if you don't change your attitude, because because it's getting to the point now, we start getting further and further down the road, because we all spoke about it when that too. And plus, and like you said, the Western Conference is not getting easier. So like you said, we were talking about with the Celtics, when you get to the finals, you got to win it, because there's no guarantee you're going to get back. Luka is very close to becoming a guy who's going to be a triple-double guy, putting up a lot of stats. He may get 1, maybe 2 MVPs. Like Harden's got an MVP, so if he gets an MVP, I'm telling you, these tracks are very similar. It's just we like Luka because he's a likable guy and he's 6'7". He's taller than Harden. But I don't see a lot of differences. Harden, like I said, nobody's excusing what Harden did. Luka, I was really disturbed with that, thinking you're bigger than your team, putting yourself in a position because that game was winnable. The game was winnable. Yes. He put himself in that position because he thinks I'm Luka Doncic. They would never call this foul call on me at home. And he got learned something. He got learned something.
Andy or Sean, you guys, it was maybe 3.5, 4 minutes left in the game.
Yeah.
That game
it was time for him. They could have came back
differently if he doesn't.
That was selfish, bro. Game. That's selfish. And that's why Windhorst, I'm telling you, people in the organization, Windhorst, you got to think about Wendy. I know he's on First Take, but he is not a hot take guy. So the fact that he went on live TV to do that says someone in that organization is sick of Luka's shit. Excuse my language. They're sick of it because he would you don't do that at the home arena. Maybe on the road where you don't have to rent. But after Brian Windhorst got on that tangent, he has to walk around that arena and see other people that's part of the Dallas organization. So that means he felt emboldened to do that. That means somebody in that organization, I don't know, could have been the head coach, could have been assistant. It's like, I'm sick of Luka thinking he can just do whatever.
All right, come on.
Jesus Christ.
Come on. My whole point was nothing to do with how he did in this finals. My whole point that prompted this whole argument was that I think he's going to have issues bringing talent to bring him back to the level of making the finals again. That's my issue. I don't care about how he performed in this finals. You're right, Zoo. And Sean's got a point, too. You guys are both right. You're arguing two different things, and this is per usual how it goes. Sean's arguing that this is a mentality going forward, and Zoo's saying, you can't blame him for this finals. I agree on both points. My whole point was with Sean's about I don't see him, unless he makes a severe change in his attitude and play style, how he is going to bring talent and how the Mavericks are going to fit around him. Just like Harden.
Thank you. And Zoo's going to be like, it's about the clutch shots. Who cares?
It doesn't matter about that.
I never said clutch shots. I said he doesn't change his play style.
What are their accolades?
What accolades? Thank you. What's your accolades, Zeus? List them out.
He's 25 years old, and he's made it to the conference finals twice already in his young career. We're talking about 25. He's not 30.
Does he have an MVP?
No, he doesn't have an MVP yet. James Harden didn't have an MVP at 25. He's 25 years old.
But he's got one now. We'll see if Luka gets one, especially what you get over there.
He's 25. He's 25 years young.
But Zoo, you could make the argument, though. Harden's career went downhill a lot faster than a lot of other stars because of how he took care of himself. That's
Zoo's not seeing it. It's the trajectory. It's the trajectory. Listen, Zoo don't want to make. He likes Luka more than Harden. That's it. No, they have the same trajectory if you take off the blinders.
Harden too, but in the playoffs, his production goes lower. He doesn't play the same. he changes. He's not as aggressive. Luka's aggressiveness in the regular season and the playoffs are the same.
Harden stayed stagnant, and Luka has increased.
I'm not arguing the point.
His aggressiveness goes down in the playoffs for some reason.
That's such a totally different point.
That's a point,
but that's a totally different point.
The stats don't matter.
It don't like the point is what are that's a point that you're making, but that's such an insignificant point because the overall point is everything else outside of your point about Luka's a better playoff player than Harden, and his regular season stays the same. That is a point, but that's such a small point compared to they're both heliocentric players. They're both players who Harden doesn't complain as much as freaking Doncic does to the refs. And Harden, like you said, he does get a lot of calls. But even when Harden doesn't get those calls in the playoffs, guess what? He ain't whining like Luka does. He's a whiner. And then Harden, I've never seen a point in the playoffs where he was selfish enough and fouled himself out. He never did that. The way he had 5 fouls and fouled himself out because he was bigger than what he was. Defense.
No.
And neither is Luka.
Yeah.
Neither is Luka.
Which is why I was selfish. Just a light comment.
When he was on the Philadelphia 76ers,
like that.
When he was on the Philadelphia Sixers in a close game,
he played.
Let him finish.
He just passed the ball. He just didn't attempt shots because he gave up.
Point because he played bad. He never put himself in a position where he could have won the game in a swing game in the NBA Finals, even though he's never got there. So that's a point. But guess what? The way he fouled himself out. That is utterly ridiculous. And I'm like I said, nobody ever calls him on it because everybody, for some reason, tiptoes around Luka because he's so amazing. He's such a guy who's triple-double. It's whatever. But like I said, if we're just stripping everything down, he is amazing. Okay, he's 25, but he's about to be 30 and a one MVP and no finals. If he wants to keep doing that. Because like you said, the way he plays,
Luka Doncic won championship in his career. Want to make a wager? Luka Doncic will win one championship.
Wow, that's a barrel. Oh, that's a big man. No, it ain't. What are you talking about, dude? He'll play till it's 40. What are you talking about? That's not championship in the next 2 to 3 years.
He's going to be gone
2 to 3 years.
He'll be gone by 35.
Dude, say he'll win it in 2 to 3 years. Like, get out of here. I'm just sick of everybody making excuses for freaking Luka Doncic, and I'm one of his biggest supporters. People are making excuses for him, and like you said, nobody ever had the gumption like Brian Windhorst to make that and do that to Luka Doncic because everybody tiptoed around Luka Doncic. But on the other hand, because of, I guess, it's Harden, we just want to destroy him because it's, like you said, I'm not agreeing with everything Harden does. But like you said, just looking at players, they're very freaking similar.
They are similar.
We give him a pass.
LeBron James, they're all heliocentric. James Harden, LeBron James,
play with different
heliocentric basketball players. It's very similar playing styles.
Yes.
So
LeBron learned how to play with teammates. And plus LeBron, like you said, as much as he wants, he
whines too. Yeah, that's also the thing. He also whines.
Yeah, but he whines like Luka. Luka literally whines every freaking play, and it's annoying to watch. How do people just walk past that? It's so annoying to watch.
But
it's not good.
What was the change in LeBron's career? LeBron's career was when he joined a champion.
D-Wade, joined a D-Wade and Chris Bosh.
Champion and a more veteran.
He learned how to play with them.
And he learned to play with them. So my point is, can Luka set that aside and do that? Who is going to want to do that? That was my whole point. I don't care about like the comparison. Yeah, he was not going to win this finals. We all got jollied up on his performance.
Yeah, we got hyped about Luka.
We got it. But I just think that I'm concerned about who will want to play with him because we talk about this all the time. These players, who's going to want to play with, Trae Young, who's going to want to play with Luka Doncic, who's going to want to play with Harden back in the day.
This might
be similar.
This is another. You just brought up Trae Young. We're gonna, and I swear we're gonna end it off with this because we're not gonna go to the offseason topic because we went too long. Part of that's my fault. We destroyed Trae Young for how he plays. Not saying anybody on this podcast. I'm just saying the media at large.
I'll take the blame. I blame Trae Young.
We destroyed James Harden for how he plays and how he does. And some will say with Trae, even like he got DeJounte this year. They still didn't make it work. Why? Because Trae needs to learn how to play with other players and get out of this heliocentric, shooting a bunch of threes, scoring a bunch of plays. Like I said, he's got great stats. He's got crazy, nice, not Luka's stats, but he's got crazy points and crazy assists. Same with Harden, crazy points, crazy assists. But the media destroys these two. And Trae is basically around the same age as Luka. Why is it with Luka? Because he's 6'7" and he's a bigger guy. That, like I said, none of these guys play defense. Like, why is it with Luka we want to sugarfoot, and we kind of want to be like, well, he's just young. Trae Young's the same freaking age. James Harden at a point when he was in Houston was around the same age. Why are we giving Luka an excuse? That's my point. The bigger point here. Luka is a better player than those guys. Yeah, I get that. But that doesn't mean the similarities in their games that we see from all three of those players, because there's not much difference from all three of those players. One's 5'11", one's 6'5", one's 6'7". They're like offensively, they are very similar. And defensively, they're very similar. And their play style, heliocentric, is very similar. It just seems to me, I find it weird that we destroy Trae Young, who before that got to a conference finals, just like Luka. James Harden, who was in an NBA finals with Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook and lost in 5. People forget that. He played in the NBA finals. So you can't throw the NBA finals card at him. He's played in the NBA finals too.
He was a key contributor.
And so you got Luka now, and it was a key contributor. And now you got Luka. It's too many similarities to where, and like I said, this is the biggest. I'm a huge Luka fan. I love Luka. He's like he's one of my favorite players. But it's just like, dude, we got to start keeping it real. And like you said, I don't like his demeanor on the court, and I don't like that he's out of shape. And if you don't start fixing that, to your point, as you get older, you're going to start getting injured. And then the narrative's going to shift. And for me, if you're going to say he's a top 2 to 3 players, then we got to criticize him like it. We can't just say, like you said, to your point, why I got so passionate. I want him up, 25%. You're a top 2 to 3 player in the league, and the team was better. You need to get 50 or 45% of that blame. You're the best player, because guess what? If he would have figured out how to beat Boston, even if he played okay, we would be like, oh, Luka Doncic is here. He's here. He's the next choice. We would have been giving him so much praise. And that's my point. That's my point.
If you're going to give him less of the blame,
and that's part of my point. People don't want to criticize Luka.
Yeah.
He's a brat. He's a brat, bro. He's a brat on the floor. He complains a lot. Like, come on, man. Like, that's just, it's unacceptable. I think why I'm so mad.
All I gotta say, no, stop bringing up Trae Young and Luka Doncic. They're in this.
You don't want to bring up because it makes too much sense.
I don't want to bring up those guys. Trae Young.
We'll see in about 4 or 5 years, see whether stats. We'll see.
Trae Young missed the playoffs. We'll That's all I gotta say.
Yes,
there's different levels.
Is Luka getting Atlanta to the finals with that roster?
No.
In the East, maybe. Who knows?
No, he's not. He's not. So what are we talking about? He's got.
They would be in the playoffs. They would 100% be in the playoffs.
Here's the thing. Let's be honest.
We're talking about the finals.
Here's the elephant in the room. Here's the elephant in the room. How did the Mavs make the finals?
Luka.
Exactly.
Luka and Kyrie were balling. Luka and Kyrie were balling.
They were balling.
That literally is my point. Like,
if the role players hit like every 3-pointer. It was everyone was balling.
So
the entire roster was balling.
They were playing. They were playing above their. They were punching above their weight.
Yeah, they're punching above their weight class with their skill level based on the talent of the roster. Luka was playing out of his mind. Kyrie was playing out of his mind, and then the role players were hitting every 3 and defending.
Exactly. And that's the same reason the Miami Heat won last year, or won the East last year. Right?
Yeah,
it's the same thing. There's teams that get hot, and my whole point is, I don't think Luka's going to have that consistency again until they get a new roster. Zoo. They need
a new roster. No, they need some better. They need some new, better starter role players.
Correct. Absolutely.
Like a Drew Holiday type to help them push them over. That type of level player. Not a superstar, not an all-star, but a very high caliber starter.
But I still don't think that's a championship caliber team. I don't think that's
Derek Lively, who was a great center, who's a passing big.
I love him. He's a rookie. He got to grow.
But he still helped out. They got him PJ Washington. They got him Kyrie Irving. Like, at what point? Because now if they get a third star, they're going to have to deplete that roster. So you can't get another star.
I don't need a star. I need a high quality starter player, 2-way starter.
I'm going to go back to it. They should have been the team that traded for Kristaps Porzingis.
He played with Kristaps, and he didn't like Kristaps. He didn't like Kristaps.
Exactly.
You know what it sounds like?
Kristaps is pouting. He talked about he was a powder.
You know what it sounds like, guys? We're just trying to make the perfect. We're trying to make the perfect roster for Luka when we need to look. Luka needs to look in the freaking mirror. That's what we're doing. We are making all these. Well, maybe if he gets this, but no, he needs to look in the mirror and become a better leader. Because it's not all about putting up stats. Mark my words. We will see if he don't fix his attitude, we will see the same trajectory with him and Harden. Mark my words. I will guarantee it. It's right now. It's hard not to say it because he's 25, 26. But I'm telling you, if he don't fix his attitude, no leader ever wins like that. None. Look at what Jason Tatum did. I just said this at the beginning of the pod. He is looked at as the best player because he is. But guess what he did? He's selfless. He put his ego aside and said Jaylen Brown's figuring out. Now, Kyrie Irving wasn't playing like Jaylen Brown.
Yeah,
I get that.
But his role players and his complementary players stepped up.
Even before that, Jason Tatum, even before that, he let his ego and guard down and didn't. Like I said, he was shooting horribly, but he still let his guard down and was like, these guys are going to figure it out and go to it. Luka maybe needs to look in the mirror and be like, hey, how I react and how I deal with revs, it affects my team. Because he may not think that he may not understand it, but he needs to look at that.
The only rebuttal to that, Sean, is that Jason Tatum can obviously trust his teammates more.
Yeah, he's a way better roster
than Luka, which is totally fair. Which is a totally fair point.
But to the point, to Zoo's point he made at the beginning of the year of the podcast, hey, guess what? Luka's the best player in this series, and we needed more from him. Like at some point, like you said, I get sick of this.
Better.
He's a top two. I just said the same thing about Jokic when, even though it was a game 7 against Minnesota and they lost. Sometimes you need more. You can't keep.
Jokic balled the hell out, man. He balled the hell out, man.
He balled, but like I said, he lost, and that's the point. I just hate
if you put 100%.
Yeah, it does happen. It does happen. You're right.
And he balled out. He can live with the results. But the in shape thing, I totally agree with. The in shape, that's not giving 100%. He
didn't, and that's my Zoo ain't want to hear it, but he didn't ball out.
He didn't ball out this series. No, Doncic.
We're talking about Doncic. I'm not talking about Jokic.
No, we're saying how Jokic balled out, and he was.
Yeah, that's my point. I brought up in the Denver series. I had no shame in him losing in Game 7.
Yes, no,
I had no shame. He balled out that series.
But there should be shame in shooting 24% from 3-point.
And playing defense.
20% from 3, 58% from the free throw line. Those are unacceptable shooting efficiency.
The couple games that work, the one game that they lost by 7. That free throws, that's a difference.
I don't like that. I don't like missed free throws. Clutch, man. You got to make your free throws.
This is what I don't understand. You're agreeing with everything that we're saying. You're saying only 25%.
I agree that he deserves blame, but when you categorize him with a Harden and Trae Young, that's where I'm at my tipping point. I cannot accept that.
The James
Harden, that's a little disrespectful to Luka. That's just a little disrespectful.
To Zoo, what is the difference? What is the difference? Outside of your point, I swear we'll let it go. But outside of your point, I will agree with you about the stagnant and the playoff. Nobody is arguing that Luka is a better playoff performer.
Yes,
but I'm talking about accolades and everything that encompasses the player. Outside of that, they are like
he's made all NBA 5 times.
That's gonna stab me to death. I swear to God, Zoo don't get.
That's a regular season award.
Exactly, he's just gonna stab me to death. But
it's a regular season award.
It's a fact. He can't bring up facts though. He's all
no.
The it's fine.
Or that, but I'm saying Zoo, he steps up stats wise, but look, your stats can be great. You literally just pointed that out. You can't blame Jokic for losing that game. Sometimes it plays out that way. So therefore, stepping up in the playoffs doesn't mean everything. But he's got to keep. Why is he not in PJ Washington's head being like, come on, man, he's
not a leader.
Lead.
He's not a leader. Zoo doesn't want to say, but I'm saying he's not a leader.
He's the leader of the team. Do you know who the leader is? Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving's the veteran leader of the team.
What is Zoo talking about? Zoo has lost it. What is he talking about?
Kyrie not the leader of the team.
Kyrie cannot be the leader of the team if he's not the best player on the team. What the hell is Zoo talking about, people?
You can be the leader of the team. You're not the best player on the team.
To be fair, Dwayne Wade was the leader for LeBron when LeBron was the best player. So it can happen, but Kyrie's not vocal.
Draymond Green's the leader of the Warriors without the KD Warriors.
He's the rebel rouser of the Warriors. He's the knucklehead of the leader. Just because you knock people out, that don't make you the leader. Steph's the leader because I'm pretty sure Steph allows Draymond to be on that team.
True.
They need Draymond to be a roughneck and knock people upside the head. That don't make you the leader. That means you're just the person who's the enforcer. That's who he is. He's not a leader.
Bill Lambier
he can get himself suspended and knock people out. That's not what a leader does. People get and I blame Michael Jordan for this. People think because you're aggressive and you fight people and you're loud, that makes you a leader. No, it does not. There's many different ways to lead. And what we've seen from Luka is he cannot lead. And he will never win if he doesn't learn how to lead a team, no matter how great his stats are. He can average 50, 20, and 70 assists, whatever. He's not going to win. That's part of being a leader. You can't be, if you're the best player on the team, you have to assume leadership positions. There are examples to what your point is. Yeah, Kyrie could be. There may be examples in NBA history of that happening. But if I had to put my life on it, it's probably 95% of teams, the best, like Boston, for example. Jason Tatum was their best player, but Jaylen Brown won the Finals MVP. Some would say, if you get them on the right day, that they're comparable. It's not like how Luka and Kyrie are such a big gulf. It is clear that this is Luka's team because he is the best player. So this is my point, and I'm going to finish on this. I swear to God, this is my point about Luka that pisses me off. You got, and I'm just using your examples. So you got him saying, "Well, he had good stats," and well, Kyrie's really the leader because he's like vocal. No. If you got the best stats and you're the best player and you're a top 2 player, I don't want to hear you're not the leader. You can't have it both ways. You can't, because then that's what that gives you an escape to do. It means we can blame Kyrie for more. We can blame Kyrie for more because
he needs to be the leader.
He needs to be.
He's not. But he's not. He needs to be it, but he's not. That's a weakness.
That's my issue. Will he be able to do that? And that's where I'm hesitant. That's where I'm hesitant.
Oh, he'll win a championship by the end of his career.
He should.
Yeah,
he should.
Mostly. Based on his talents alone.
Listen, we need to go back in history and start looking at a lot of these guys that we were so high on when they were 25, 26 and see what their career is currently.
All being 5 times in a row in your career, it's very minimal.
There's a lot of guys that make all NBA, Zoo. That's whatever.
All NBA first team?
Zoo don't get it.
Not many players do that.
No, he's good.
Congratulations. He'll make 7 more and probably never win a championship because unless he changes his attitude, it doesn't matter. God,
never win.
Got to change your attitude, bro.
If you want to make that point, let's make a wager.
But you're acting like it's impossible.
He is.
I'm not saying it's impossible.
There's been countless records of Luke. Like Luka's actually it's a special player, but there's been countless
special players not to win championships.
I'm keep saying Harden is an example.
Allen Iverson
was on top of the world coming off of OKC and was at Houston and was putting up crazy numbers. He didn't get to a finals, but he's putting up crazy numbers. People were saying, well, he's young, he's going to figure out. And guess what they did with Harden? They switched all around him, Dwight Howard, Tyson, all these other guys, these pieces, Kevin Martin, all these guys around him. They switched all this stuff. And guess what they realized at the end of the day? His style of play and his leadership style did not get him to win.
Yep.
Can we make a bet, please? Come on, Luka Doncic.
No, because you want to say end of the season, that's a cop-out. That's not a big boy bet. That's not.
How about this, Zoo? How about
he can join another team and then number 2 and then win a
championship is hard.
Zoo, I'll make you a bet. I'll bet he doesn't win one before. I'll even include the age of 30. He won't win before he's 30.
Before what? No, what if he wins the age 30? He wins a championship 30 years old.
So what? He's 25 right now.
25 right now.
I'll give you 5 seasons.
5 seasons.
He won't win in 5 seasons.
Yeah, Luka Doncic will win a championship in 5 seasons.
I bet you $20.
$20?
$20.
Bet. Sean, you want in on
this next season is the first one.
What?
This next season is the first season.
First season is upcoming now.
Okay, so you're saying he's going to lose Kyrie eventually?
That's too much of it. That's too much. I mean, if you want to put if you want to put 5 years on it, I mean, air shake bet on that, but
I'll just okay. If you season, he'll win a championship. Yep.
Because we can talk
winning
about
championship is hard. Not a given.
Winning championship is hard. That's why you shouldn't make that bet.
I believe it. Exactly. If it's hard, just make the bet, man.
I already did.
You're real confident.
You just did it.
Oh, let's go. $20. Let's go.
But I think the thing, and here's why I'm confident, is the West, man. The West is scary, and Luka's team is not getting any better.
It's tough. It's not going to be easy.
The bet's off because then now because we don't know where he'll get traded to if he gets traded.
Yep.
We're talking about in Dallas. If he gets traded, the bet's off.
We're just the next 5 years.
Oh no, 5 years. 5 years. No.
Yeah.
It's 5 years.
See, you can't change the bet. You can't change the bet when you
just change it because if he goes play with a freaking Wembanyama or something, then bets are off.
That could be interesting. And I know we're saving it for next week, man. But there could be some nice moves this offseason, man. We'll talk about that next week, though.
Obviously, when it comes to Luka and Kyrie, I will say we focus too much on the losers. Again, salute to the Boston Celtics because they were the ones that actually won the championship and did it in 5 games. We had no faith in them, but like I said, sometimes when you're talking about the best player and he's on a team that, at least on this podcast, we thought was going to be the winners, we may focus on that a little bit more. But like I said, salute to Jason Tatum, salute to Jaylen Brown. I'm going to be interested to see what the progression is going to be. We're going to talk about next week with the entire NBA in terms of what is going to be the one move we're going to look at. We're supposed to get into that today, but like I said, we'll do it next week. Follow us on Tyson Talks _ on Instagram. Make sure you follow us on Spotify, Apple, Google Podcasts. Please give us a 5-star review so we can get us in the algorithms. That'll get us with other podcasts so they can look at our podcast, click on it, and maybe listen to the argument that we just had and things of that nature. Also, YouTube, Quantro knows. We do YouTube Shorts. Same type of things we do on Instagram, but it's in a different medium. So whichever one you choose, you can indulge in that. And for me, Zoo and P Bush, we are out.